When you first open up Adobe Photoshop, you're going to see a layout that looks similar to this, has all your recent projects, if you have any recent projects, and you can hit open or new file here. All we really need to do is hit open and find our files. My files are in the downloads folder, or you can drag your file directly. You can navigate to your folder, find your files, and drag them directly. The first two files we're actually going to work with are these two files that you can see on my screen here, Floofy, this dog, and OK Cat, this pattern of dog biscuits. Select them both and drag them into Photoshop. It takes a moment and then it opens both files. You can see that they're both open because they're displayed in two separate tabs. Alright, so now we have our files open. We actually have the whole interface of Adobe Photoshop available to us. To make sure that your screen looks exactly like mine, I want you to go to Window, Workspace, and make sure Essentials is checked. This is the default workspace, and this is the one that we're going to be using as we begin to get more familiar with Adobe Photoshop. Okay, so on the left side of the screen, we're going to have our toolbar, and on the top of our screen, we have our menu. We're really only going to be using a few items on our toolbar as we get more familiar with Photoshop. We're going to be using our arrow tool, the move tool, the rectangular marquee tool, and this third item, which might not be the polygonal lasso tool for you, it might be the regular lasso tool. But we're going to try out this one here, the magnetic lasso. So switch to that one. And then the fourth tool here, mine says the magic wand tool. If you click and hold on that, you can click on the quick selection tool. You might have a different tool selected there. Yours might be object selection. But we're going to try the quick selection tool today. Those are the only tools that we're going to be using for this brief little activity. All right, so first, let's try out the quick selection tool. You can see the cursor is one specific size right now. That's about the size of the tool that I'll be using. And I want to make sure that it's set to this option here, Add to Selection. It's this small little button here with the plus sign. That makes sure that every time I click, it adds a little bit more to my selection as opposed to deleting the previous selection. It'll make sense once we get started. So I'm going to use my cursor, carefully place it on a spot on the dog, and just start clicking. Every time I click, it's going to add a little bit more as the AI recognizes what I'm trying to select. I could hold down the mouse and drag it, but I find that to be a little bit more chaotic when I'm making a selection. I like to make small little selections bit by bit until I get the whole thing. You can also change the size of your brush. If you look at your keyboard, underneath the plus sign on the keyboard, there's these two brackets. There's one on the left side. If you press that one, it makes the cursor smaller. If you press the one on the right side, it makes the cursor larger. You want to find the delicate balance between the two sizes to make sure that you can select everything correctly. If you have it too big, you might select too much. So that's why I work with a smaller selection. Taking my time and making the brush smaller whenever I have something smaller to select. Making it a little bit bigger when I have something bigger to select. But remember, not too big. If I ever make a mistake when I'm selecting something, I can press Command Z or Control Z if you're on Windows. And it'll undo the last thing that you did. You can also make the brush a lot smaller if it's giving you a hard time. Or, one last thing, I can subtract from my selection if I can't quite get it with adding to my selection. I can go to this last selection tool option here, subtract from selection, select that one, and then I can subtract whatever I don't want. Selecting takes time. You want to be precise. this is probably about as good as I'm going to get for this little demo here. Okay, so we have Floofy selected. I want to do a few things with this selection. I want to make sure that I keep it. I want to turn it into something called a layer mask. So to do that, I'm going to go first to my other file, leave the selection. It'll stay selected. And go to my other file. I'm going to go to select all to select everything. I can go to select and hit all, but the shortcut for that is Control A if you're on Windows, Command A if you're on Mac. I like to use the shortcuts. So I'm going to press Command A to select everything, Command C to copy everything. Then I'm going to go back to my other file and press Command V. When I do that, it's going to create a new layer with the layered image data of the previous file. And it is going to get rid of my selection, but don't panic. It's alright, so I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to hit paste, Command V. Alright, so it pasted the photo down on there, and I did lose my selection. But we can reselect. We can go to select at the top and hit reselect, which you can see the shortcut for that is Shift Control D if you're on Windows, Shift Command D if you're on Mac. I reselected it. I still see my outline for the dog, and I have my outline on top of this image of the dog biscuits, which is fine. What I want to do is I want to cut out the dog shape, and I want to leave the biscuits. So let's do this. Let's actually try out this new function here. If you go to the Layers panel, if your Layers panel is not displayed, go to Window at the top and check Layers. And then you're going to go to your Layers panel and find the icon that looks like, make sure layer 1 is selected, find the icon that looks like this little piece of paper with a circle in it. Try it. Press it once. And you're going to see that it got rid of everything that wasn't selected. We don't really want that. It's close, almost what we wanted. Let's undo that. Press Control Z or Command Z. We actually want the opposite. We want to cut out everything else and leave the dog shape. We want to leave the dog and cut out the bones that are in that spot. So we need to invert the selection. To do that, you can go to Select, Inverse, and now we have everything else selected but the dog. Now let's try it. Now the dog is here on top of the image. The image isn't quite lined up though. If I look on my thumbnail for the image, I can see that there's a little bit of space at the top. If you see where my cursor is pointing, a little bit of space in that thumbnail. And there's this lock icon that shows me that there's a cutout for the dog and it's linked. That's what that is. It's linked to this background image here. I can unlink it by clicking on that. And now I can move the image using the arrow tool. I can switch to the arrow tool, the move tool by pressing V or clicking this icon. And I can move this image. Make sure you have this selected. And then I can move the image. The image isn't quite big enough, so I want to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to press Control T or Command T, commanding it to transform the image to a bigger size. And then drag from these little square handles and adjust the size of the image. Once I find the size I like and the placement that I feel comfortable with, I can hit the checkbox. Okay, this is coming along pretty well. I like what it looks like so far. I would like to bring a few things back from the original image though. So first, let's relink our background and our dog image. Just click this little space in between the two again. And then let's actually change the layer mode. Right now it's on normal. There's a few other modes though. If you hit this checkbox, or hit this down arrow rather, you'll see there's a bunch of different options. The first section usually darkens the image. The next section usually lightens the image. The other section adjusts the lighting. The final one has a lot of special effects like difference. And the final area adjusts the layer based on color and intensity of light. They're all going to do different things, and it's unlikely that you'll use all of them in your career as a graphic designer. Maybe, maybe not. The one that we would likely use for this one is multiply, because it multiplies the image on top of the other one, but we can also see some of the remnants of the previous image, which is the dog's shadow. I find that looks a little bit more realistic, as realistic as this is. So I hit multiply. Make sure that it is no longer outlined like this. Hit enter. All right, we've merged the two images together. This image is done for now. We're going to pause here for just a second. And we're going to save our file. Okay, so let's go to File at the top of the screen and Save As. It's likely when you first hit Save in Photoshop, your screen's going to look like this, Save to Creative Cloud. You can hit on your computer, though, to save it on your computer. As a student working on multiple machines, I would say save to the Creative Cloud. Give it a name, dog-background, and whatever else you want to type in there. Hit save. Another way that you can save your file on your machine would be to go to File, Save As, on your computer, find a nice place to save it, but notice this, Save As type Photoshop. This is Photoshop's file format, .psd. Never delete anything after the dot, no matter what computer you're working on. Leave anything after the dot. Dot whatever means that it's a file type, and it gives the computer information so that it knows what to do with the file. If you delete it, it won't know what the file is. All right, give it a name, hit save. Another screen pops up. You can just hit OK here. So we're done with this file for now. You can close it. You don't need this background file open anymore. We need some new files. I'm going to go back to my class document, open up my downloads window, and of all the files that are on display here, I'm going to download only a few more. I'm going to download this one with the boats, this beach with the boats, hit download. I'm going to download this image with the birds, hit download. I go back to Photoshop and open file, find my images. First, I'm going to open up the one with the birds. I'm going to show you a few things you can do with Photoshop. So Photoshop is for editing photos primarily, but you can use it for quite a few different things. But let's look at some of the photo options you have available to you. So using the quick selection tool, we're going to get rid of one of these birds. I think I would like to get rid of this bird right here, just to have a contained flock that's a little bit more conical shape. So I pick my quick selection tool, select the image part that I want to remove, this bird right here, carefully selecting it. It's kind of blurry, so I need to take my time to select it. Okay, this time I can get a little bit of the area around the bird. That's okay. I really do want to get rid of the whole bird, so it's okay if I get rid of a little bit more of the space around it. Okay, this is a pretty good selection. I'm going to use a new tool now. I'm going to go down to this icon that looks like a band-aid. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to scroll down to the other tool on this list called the patch tool. The patch tool works by grabbing a whole another piece of the image that is similar in size and replacing the space that is selected with a patched part of the image. I know all that sounds crazy. Here, watch. I click the patch tool, and I'm going to click and drag, and it's going to make an approximate copy of the space based on where I drag the selection to. I have to do it a few times to truly blend away the bird completely. All right, let's try this a different way. I'm going to undo all of that, Command Z, and make a bigger selection. I think the patch tool is a little confused by how tight this selection is. So let's make a bigger selection. I hit Command D to deselect. I'm going to use a different selection tool. I'm going to click and hold on my third icon and switch to the polygonal lasso tool. I really just want to get the whole space around this bird, not just a little crisp up to the edge of the bird. See if I can get rid of more of it. So I click, 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 and try to find where I started my selection. When I find where I started my selection with this tool, I see a little circle, and I can click. Now let's try the patch tool. I'm going to grab the patch tool and grab and move it to another section of this image and see what it does. That's a lot better. There we go. The image is now adjusted using the patch tool. I have removed the bird that was there before. Now I can deselect by pressing Control D. And it's like it was never there. A few other things I can do. I could use the color options and change the way that the color and lighting is affected in this image. I can go to Hue under Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation, or I can hit Control U or Command U and change the color. I can slide the hue slider, change the color of the whole image. I can change the intensity of the color by adjusting the saturation. Make a few adjustments that you feel comfortable with, and then hit OK. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine. Okay, that's all we were going to do with this image. You can save this one too. Go to File, Save As, save it on your computer, save it on the cloud, whatever you'd like to do. It's up to you. Just remember, when you're saving it, if it has layers anyway, you need to make sure to save it as a PSD. You could change the file type here from JPEG. Hit down arrow, you can hit PSD, and save it as a PSD if you like. This one, it doesn't matter as much. Alright, I'm going to close this file. I'm going to open another one now. I'm going to open up the image with the boats and the beach. Go to my downloads folder, drag it over and release, and I have my image with the photo of the beach. I'm going to use my content awareness tool again, and I want to remove all of the boats from this image. So a few things we can use. We could use zoom in and zoom out. Go to Control and plus to zoom in, Control and minus to zoom out, so we can get a little bit more detailed in this image. So let's go Control plus, zoom in. And when I'm zoomed in, I can actually press spacebar to grab the image and move it over. So once I'm zoomed in and I've moved it over, I'm going to try it out using the rectangular marquee tool. This is a regular selection tool that takes rectangle shapes. I'm going to try this one out on my boats. I'm going to make a selection around a boat, and I'm going to use the first option, new selection. So every time I use it, it's going to make a new selection. And I'm going to use the patch tool. I'm going to try using the patch tool again. I've just tried it out before. I'm going to pick another section and see if I can remove the boat. Great. I still have a shadow though, so let's try to remove the shadow too. So I'm going to make a bigger selection. And I'm going to use the patch tool again. And just like that, it's gone. It's a little bit tricky with the waves and patterns of the water, but it is doing its best to remove it. I could probably keep pulling the patch tool to get different variations in the wave pattern, but I think this is okay for now. Let's try it. There. You still can kind of see where it was. Let's make a smaller selection so we can play around with that a little bit more. So I'm moving it over. I hold spacebar, move the image over. I can then pick another tool. Let's try the polygonal lasso tool and make something a little bit more of an organic shape. clicking, 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 clicking. If I ever go past where I've intended to click, I can always hit backspace and it'll undo the last thing that I clicked. Go back to where I started. This time I'm going to drag the patch tool, and I'm also going to try out another tool. I'm going to use the spot healing brush. So I'm going to drag this patch tool over. Then I'm going to use, click and hold, the spot healing brush. Spot healing brush makes an approximate guess on the type of healing that you want to do on the area. Let me remove my selection first. I press Command D, remove this selection, and I want to blend these rough areas. So using the spot healing brush, I can kind of click on the border of where my selection was, and it'll kind of blend it together. It'll heal the image a little bit. I can also use the spot healing brush and just paint over things, but that gets a little bit more tricky. Sometimes you're going to get a random result, which is why I prefer to use the patch tool. But try it. See what it's like. For the last two boats, I am going to use the patch tool again. And then where they were, go back again, use the spot healing brush, and brush up those areas a little bit. See if I can make it look a little more natural. This is a doctored photo now, so it's okay if it doesn't look quite as natural, but we want to do our best to make it look realistic. I just undid a whole lot of stuff because I didn't like it. Remember, the shortcut to undo is Command Z. Zooming back out again, Control minus. The boats are gone. If I spent a little bit more time on this, I could make it look a little bit more realistic. But for now, I think this is a decent removal of all of those items.